Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about the idea of plateauing and evolution as an artist. And I feel like I've been doing a little bit of the former the past couple months. And I really wanted to talk about the idea of how this works. So when you are starting out, there is a lot of forward progress, a lot of movement and learning and evolution of your style and your knowledge and your technical skills. And as you move forward with that, you tend to that upward curve tends to flatten out, and then you kind of plateau. You don't really learn as much, but you're still making things and you're still kind of enjoying the process. But eventually you get to a point where it's like, oh, I'm not doing anything new. I feel like I'm stagnating. And that's when you start exploring new ideas again. And generally that's when that line starts to trend upwards again, and your knowledge starts to increase and your skills start to increase because you're exploring a new style, a new just technical idea, just like exploring music theory or just general theory more, and you're learning more things again. And that cycle just keeps happening throughout your entire creative career. And I guess the thing I really wanted to talk about was when you are plateauing and how it can feel very demoralizing, where it's like, oh, I had such a good run for like the last couple months, and now I just feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And it can be really, I said demoralizing already, but it is really just demoralizing, where it's just like, I feel like I'm not progressing as an artist anymore. And like, what do I do to overcome that? And sometimes it's actively going out and trying to find new material to learn, new material to kind of bring into the fold. Sometimes it's just being weird and making something random and just trying to break that habit that you've formed with just making the same thing over and over. Sometimes it's going out and learning. Sometimes it's going and completely changing your environment, like going on a trip or like going out into the woods, like experiencing something new. All of that is a way to break that plateau, break that barriers to start learning again. And one of the things that I've been dealing with is with the 2-hour track challenge. I feel that like the structure stayed pretty similar, and I haven't really moved forward in the same way that I'd like. I listened to some of the songs that I wrote last year, and they're just like wild and different and something that I want to revisit, but I kind of feel like I'm in this rut of, well, I want to make a very specific style of music, or I just have like so many other things going on that mentally this is really all that I can capture at the moment. And I feel like I'm being a little hard on myself when it comes to that, where I should really focus on, just making stuff and moving forward regardless of the outcome. But I feel like I'm on that plateau right now where it's just like I need to start moving forward again. And honestly, I also want to mention that being on a plateau and like not making that forward progress isn't a bad thing either. Because sometimes when you learn things, you need time to process them, and you need time to internalize that knowledge in a way that actually kind of adds it to your tool belt. Whereas if you just try to force that knowledge into everything you make, it tends to compromise the music that you're making. But when you take the time to learn something and then internalize it and then just kind of bring it naturally into your creative process, I think that tends to work a lot better compared to forcing that idea into everything that you do. I definitely am guilty of that, where it's like I learn a new chord progression or music theory thing, and it's like, oh, I'm going to use this in everything. And then I feel like a lot of the music I make is very samey because of that. So sometimes when you're on a plateau, that just means that you're learning new things, but you haven't really gotten to the point where you can execute on them in a good way. And that's not a bad thing. That's something that should definitely be respected, and you can move forward with that as things go. And that's where breakthroughs come from, where all of a sudden you're working as normal on your plateau, and then you have this huge spike, and you're just like, oh, I finally get this. I can finally use this in a way that makes sense. And, that can be a huge boon to your creative endeavors in the long run. But sometimes you have to push yourself out of that plateau, and sometimes you just have to let it ride. And again, it all comes down to mindfulness and being aware of like your current situation and how you want to how you want or how you need to move forward from there. I feel that a lot of this kind of that progression is something that just kind of happens, and it's not something that really you have. Agency is the wrong word. You do have agency over it. You can control it, but it's also something that where it's just like you just have to kind of roll with it and see where things go, and you don't always need to like force your way through and push your way through and all this other stuff. Sometimes it just happens naturally, and that's okay too. I think that's pretty much it. I mostly just wanted to talk about this because it was really on my mind, because I'm definitely in a plateau right now and I'm trying to figure out why. And I think that it's just because there's a lot going on right now, and I'm able to just kind of work on what I can and continue moving forward. And when things clear up a little bit, I know that my style will be better and improved because of it, and I'll be able to make new and neat things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to when that happens, but in the meantime, I just have to stay mindful of where I'm at. And same with you, of course. You just stay mindful of where you're at, and if you feel like you've been in one place too long, maybe that's an indication for you to start learning something. But if you feel like this is just the start of a plateau, maybe just try to ride it out a little bit and see where it goes. Like, you've got a lot of time in the world, and it's always worth not forcing things if you don't have to, because that tends to create a lot more stress than is necessary. So that is everything I have for today. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter, and thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Be remarkable.